Okay, so I think that she already told you, but I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the Bad Boys era of the Detroit Pistons, doing a project on that. So, from your perspective as a coach, and obviously just growing up in Michigan and being around um, just kind of that era, talk to me about the impact that you saw that team have, on the city of Detroit, on Michigan, on the game of basketball, and maybe how you think that their style of play impacted how you coach.
Oh, I love them. I love them all. I love all those guys, Chuck Daly and all the players. Of course, when I first came here in '84, they were assembling that team, and Magic used to be back here all the time because he still came back in the summers, and a lot of those guys would come in and play pickup ball here. Kelly Trapuka even, and Lambier, and Rodman wasn't there yet, but of course Isaiah and all those guys. And I just think the tone they set of, teams that played hard, teams that played defense, teams that were tough, um, they were the bad boys, and I love the documentary that they've had out there on them, the 30 for 30. It was, to me, did it get a little too physical? Probably, but there was a halfway in between. And I think that it was kind of perfect for the city of Detroit. Detroit, a tough working man, woman's city, where people, you know, came up tough, and they were just like somebody to latch onto. And um, I absolutely loved it personally, and it did have an impact on how I coach because I've always believed that players play tough, players win. I always believed that to win a championship, you got to be physically and mentally tough. And they were physically and mentally tough. Now it's more physically strong, but mentally you still have to be very tough. And their mentality of things was off the charts.
Um, so talk to me because I know that you're definitely a defensive coach. So in that era, they kind of brought that back in a time where, with Magic and then Michael Jordan starting to get going, and it's very offensive. So talk about the impact that they had being mostly a defensive team and bringing that toughness on the defensive end, especially.
Well, as they got more pieces to their puzzle, Dennis Rodman was, of course, one of the big pieces. But as they got more and more physical, Lambier was, I guess, a jerk, if you would call it in this day and age, because he was just so tough. They had the Bruise brothers in there. And yet, when you look at that team, there was some pretty good offensive players. I mean, Vinny was a heck of a player. He was the microwave. Joe Dumars, was great at both. But you're right. It was an era where Magic got the Lakers running, and Michael got the Bulls running, and the Celtics were kind of in between. They were half Pistons, half the Lakers and the Bulls, and so the Pistons just decided that we're going to hatchet everybody, and it was physical at its best, but it was defense to this day, whether it be in college, pro, whether it be football, basketball, hockey, baseball, it's still the best defensive teams win. What you'd really like to be this day and age is very good defensively and very good offensively. And I think they started towards the end when they won the two back-to-back championships to be a little bit of both.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I was going to ask you that. In this time, I think especially at the college level, but definitely at the pro level, it seems like it's so offensive based, offensive minded. Do you think that it would be realistic for a team to kind of replicate what the Bad Boys did in that
God,
era?
that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Huh? That'd be awesome. No, I don't. I think that the rules don't let you anymore. As I say, the way the refereeing is now is a two-hand touch is a foul, a little bump is a technical, and if you even kind of bump a guy, you're probably thrown out of the game. Back then it was body slams were a foul, and then it went from there. So, and some of that's good. I'm half kidding, half serious here. Some of it is good. I mean, I don't think they should be body slamming people like they went through back then. But this thing where you can't touch a guy and the best players are sitting on the bench, whether it be pro or college, or all the rules go to offense because we want to make this more entertaining. If you look at the teams that still win, like in our pro league, the NBA, everybody looks at the Warriors as a great offensive team. They led the league in defense. Everybody looks at maybe the Patriots with Tom Brady. They're one of the best defensive teams. So I think as we watch pro sports, we realize that defense still wins. It's just that more people like to play offense. That's why there's not as many great teams.
Right. Okay, last question. This might be a tough one. A tough one. So the reason why I wanted to look at the Bad Boys era of the Pistons was because I guess I feel like in the grand scheme of things, they don't get as much attention and respect as maybe they deserve, obviously being back-to-back champions, being one of the greatest teams. So why do you think that is? Why do you think that they haven't traditionally got as much respect, and why they're not necessarily, I mean, obviously they were a team that people love to hate, so why do you think that even now, removed from the era, that they haven't?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons they don't get the respect. I mean, they didn't do it over a long period of time. The Celtics and the Lakers are the only two teams that have done it in a long period of time in pro sports. The Spurs, and yet we're in an era now, the Twitter era, as I call it, that everything's instant gratification. You hardly even know who did things 5 years ago. But I think the other reason is just what you said, bad boys. Isaiah walking off the court when they got beat by Chicago, not shaking anybody's hands. In a way, and I don't want to sound crazy on this, but you're not supposed to love your opponent. Everybody asks me all the time, well, do you like Michigan? Hell no, I don't like Michigan. Do you hate Michigan? Yeah, I hate Michigan. Do I respect them? Yeah, I respect them. But how can you love your opponent? This day and age with AAU ball and all the things that goes on in the men's and women's program, everybody knows everybody. Everybody's all huggy kissy. They did that a little bit. Irvin and Isaiah were very good friends, but you saw what happened in those games when it went that way. It was body slams again. It didn't matter if they were friends. But I think they haven't gotten the respect because they haven't done it over a long period of time. One, they weren't pretty and sexy, and they weren't that offensive. With Magic it was Showtime. With Michael it was jump out of the gym and come back down. And the Pistons were just grinders. Now for a purist, I think you'd respect them a lot, but I just don't think they were quite the same for the entertainment value. Now for the blue collar guy who's or gal that's grown up like we all have, most of us are not superstars. You gotta love you gotta love Chuck Daly, you gotta love the way they did it, and I have great respect because I'm from the state of Michigan, and I think they brought a lot to who this state is. When you look at Flint and Saginaw and Detroit and all these blue-collar workers, the Pistons were the prime example of that. So I love them.
Awesome. That's it.
Okay?
Yep. That was perfect. Yep.
Jeez, that was easy.